spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
I will say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden. We've been off for a couple weeks on this Game Pick show, but that doesn't mean we're leaving you out to dry. I'm here with Tanner Kern of Cold Hard Football Facts. It is Friday, December 16th. We are in Week 15. We had a game played last night. We'll talk about that quickly. I don't think there's really a lot to say on that game, but we will at least cover it. Tanner, how are you feeling? How are things going on the sports betting side?
I'm feeling good. Feeling good. Today's not getting started hot with bowl games, but NFL's been solid. Had a good night last night. We were just talking before the show. I don't know how anyone was on the Seattle Seahawks, but that's why Vegas
apparently
wins.
It was a thing on TikTok you mentioned, like that. I don't know. You just trying to be contrarian just to get views? Who knows? But both Tanner and I picked the Niners. We're not going to go over records because we didn't have a show last week. We're just going to jump right into it. Our producer Anthony Wayner behind the scenes. Go ahead and get that timer ready. So let's go ahead and quickly talk about that Thursday night game, and we can give it a whole 10 seconds, and I'd be fine with it. San Francisco 49ers, 21-13, but it wasn't that close. Seattle really scored a touchdown right towards the end of the game. The Niners were in complete control start to finish. Your thoughts, Tanner?
Yeah, so there wasn't really a point in the game where I was nervous about the spread. I was more nervous about my props throughout the game, which turned out to be okay. But San Francisco flat out dominated on defense. They were great in the trenches. Christian McCaffrey had an awesome night running the football. And when you look at Seattle, they don't stop the run well. They don't run the football well. And if you can't do that against a team like San Francisco, you're going to have a hard time winning. So I don't know how anyone was on plus 3.5. I think people overthought it and thought, like, this is just too easy. Let me go the other side. But it was always San Francisco minus 3.5.
I guess there's it's a home game, Seattle, the 12th man, for the division, yada, yada. But yeah, we're both in agreement here. It was never in doubt. This was, my confidence level was 15 on this. It was my second most confident pick of the week. It was one of those that, San Francisco, yes, next, go to the next one. Real quick question, because we have not been on a show together since the Brock Purdy experience began. What are your thoughts on him now after 3 games?
He looks really good. I tweeted something last night. I said, like, kids now are going to talk about Brock Purdy how we talk about Tom Brady. I think that could be a bit of an overreaction, but I don't know if you saw it on the screen last night. They put up some graphic that was like the only quarterback to win their first 2 starts as a rookie coming off the bench or something was Tom Brady, and then I forget who the other one was, but Tom Brady was on that list. So Brock Purdy looked really good. He made plays down the stretch of that football game that weren't rookie plays, so it was good to see, and I think he's more of a game manager, but I still like him. Long-term somewhere to be a starting quarterback.
Well, you don't like a good game manager is really all Kyle Shanahan needs in this offense. Yeah. You don't need a guy that's going to carry him. You don't need a Mahomes type because Shanahan's such a good play caller. They've got so many weapons. Their defense is phenomenal. You just need a guy who's decisive, is confident, understands the offense and understands to get the ball and is accurate. And Purdy's doing all of those things. He's phenomenal. David Morazzo in the chat, Brock looks legit. He really does. I had my doubts. Anybody should have doubts about a 7th round, quarterback coming in, but maybe this is the next Brady. I know that's early, but stay tuned. It's certainly been fun so far, especially for Niners fans. Let's go ahead and jump into the Saturday games. We have got 3 Saturday games, starting with the Vikings hosting the Indianapolis Colts on, I think it's at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. 4.5 Vikings favorite at home. Obviously, disappointing loss, got beat up and down the field against the Lions last week. Colts they had the bye, but they got destroyed by the Cowboys the week before that. How do you like this one, Tanner?
So I look at this game, I got to go with Minnesota here. I don't want to, but I have to. Indianapolis doesn't do a lot of things well on offense or defense. I think they had that spike when they had Jeff Saturday come in, and now it's kind of faded. Minnesota is not nearly as good as their record. None of the advanced analytics show that they are a great football team. But I do think they're slightly better than Indianapolis, so I'm going to ride with them.
I'm with you. I don't want to pick the Vikings. I have been against the Vikings most of the year, and in the big games, I was proven right. And some of those other medial games that I thought they could pull off, I was proven wrong. But the Colts just aren't good enough to keep up in this scenario, especially at home for the Vikings. The Vikings actually have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, especially over the past 4 to 5 weeks, but the Colts don't have the firepower to take advantage of that. Justin Jefferson, fresh off, 223 yards receiving. It doesn't matter what defense they're facing. He will get his, and that will be enough. 4.5. I don't know. I think the spread's a little low. I know the Vikings aren't a powerhouse, but the way the Colts have been playing, Jeff Saturday on a Saturday, maybe there's some magic there. I don't know. But I've got a confidence level of 13. This was also one of my easier picks to make. No Pro Football Demon picks today. It's just going to be me and you, Tanner. So let's go ahead and jump into the next one. We've got a full slate. There are no bye weeks, so we've got a lot of games to get to. Next Saturday game, Baltimore Ravens traveling to the Cleveland Browns. It looks like Tyler Huntley will be starting. He left the game, and Anthony Brown, who I had honestly never heard of prior to last game, came in, but it looks like Huntley will start this game, getting 2.5 points on the road at Cleveland.
Yeah, so last week I was on the side of the Baltimore Ravens against the Steelers. I said there's no way that Lamar makes this much of a difference, right, against the Steelers team at least. Huntley, I think, is a better passer. I think he can do a lot of the same things that Lamar can. He's obviously not Lamar, but still, Baltimore can win with defense, and they're going against a Cleveland team that struggles to get off the field on third down. And Nick Chubb has really been ineffective as of late. He hasn't really been. Yeah. He hasn't been the early season Nick Chubb that we would have thought. And when you look at Deshaun Watson, he's gotten better from one week to the next, but still, he's only played 2 weeks. We can't bet on him yet. So I'm going to go with Baltimore plus 2.5. I think they win this game outright.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Ravens to win this game outright. I get it. It's at home. It's Cleveland, but I was a little surprised by the point spread. I bet if Lamar was starting, it would be in the other direction. Baltimore has actually had one of the best run defenses since they acquired Roquan Smith in the entire NFL. Add that onto the fact, Tanner, you mentioned Chubb has actually been very ineffective. I think last game he had less than 3 yards a carry. Wasn't able really to get the ball going against a horrid Texans defense the week before, and Watson hasn't been good. Add that onto the fact that this defense has been bad. I don't think this has 13-10 written all over it. I'm not expecting a high-scoring game by any means, but I do think that the Ravens defense playing as well as they are, Huntley running this offense, not a huge drop-off from Lamar. I also like, this is my 12 confidence. So confident that the Ravens not only will cover the 2.5, but they will win. The primetime Saturday night game, my Miami Dolphins traveling to Buffalo. The Dolphins have been on a bit of a skid against the Niners and the Chargers last week. 7.5 points, though, against the team they beat earlier in the year. I know it was in Miami, and it was 120 degrees on the sideline. But the Dolphins are still able to put up points. The Bills have been able to be passed on. How do you like this spread here on Saturday night?
So I just don't like Buffalo, the way they're playing right now. I mean, the Jets, who are a good football team, it's hard to say that, but the Jets made Josh Allen look bad 2 games this season. Buffalo hasn't been able to put teams away. They're not doing a lot of the same things we saw early in the season. This Miami team's going to have trouble, I think, going to play in the snow, but at the end of the day, they got heaters on the sidelines. I'm not looking for that to be really any bit of a difference in the football game. I think Miami can score. I don't think Buffalo's defense is solid as they were early in the season, so I would take them at 7.5.
I am also taking them. We're fully aligned so far. I'm taking the Dolphins. Yep. Confidence level of 9. So with 16 games, that's slightly above average. I'm not slamming the door on this basically because of how the Dolphins have played the last 2 weeks. But this is a team that Buffalo played zone, I think, almost the entire game against Miami earlier in the season. The 2 teams that have been able to shut down the Dolphins lately have played a lot of man and a lot of press man. The Bills, their one biggest weakness on defense is their cornerbacks. They don't have the manpower outside of Tre'Davious White to play the kind of man press coverage that has disrupted this Dolphins offense. I am picking the Bills to win this game at home. I think they find a way to win. I think it'll be similar maybe to last week's Jets game, but 7.5 points I think is way too rich in a game that will decide the AFC East. If the Bills win, they lock that division up. 7.5 points, I'm going with Miami as well. Let's jump into the Sunday games. I switched this pick this morning. We've got the Detroit Lions. I know that I have no idea where the line is now. I use Run Your Pool for these lines. These go live on Wednesday. Who knows? You might have more updated information from Cold Hard Football Facts. But I've got Detroit as a 0.5 point favorite on the road at the Jets. I originally had the Jets at home with that defense. Goff has actually been dreadful on the road all year. But then we found out this morning that Mike White will not be cleared by team doctors, will not start, and we've got the Zach Wilson experience again.
I'm going to trust Zach Wilson here. I still like the way this New
famous
I had
last
New York
words.
before. Yeah, I had New York before. I'm not going to change it up. I think their defense is just too strong. Maybe he has a better chance of scoring against Detroit. Was the last time we saw him against New England? I
Yeah.
believe. Last time
Yeah.
we saw him was against New England. He couldn't do anything.
Dreadful.
But New England's a much different defense than Detroit. Lions don't play a lot of defense. They score. That's how they win. So I'm going to go with New York. I think they win this football game outright at home. It's a risky decision with without Mike White playing quarterback, but Zach Wilson, hopefully, he got a little fire lit under his, after being benched and can do something this week.
I don't know that I have faith that he has that ability. I had a confidence level at 8 with the Jets. Rather than rearrange all my numbers, I just stuck Detroit at 8. I don't necessarily feel that confident that Detroit will win on the road. Their defense has actually been playing much better. If you just look at their advanced metrics over the last 5 to 6 weeks. Now, granted, a lot of that was at home at Ford Field in the Dome, but we just saw Aiden Hutchinson have his best game. He had an over 90 rating in PFF last week against the Vikings. This team is hot. I don't have faith in Goff. This is more a reflection of Detroit running the ball. Quinnen Williams, it looks like the Jets won't have him on the defensive line. That's a huge loss. So I may say 8 for those that are watching on YouTube, but I would not put an 8 level on Detroit. This is more like a referendum on my absolute lack of faith in Zach Wilson, but I am going to pick the Lions here. Pittsburgh Steelers at Carolina Panthers. Panthers, sneaky one of the hotter teams in the NFL right now. We talked about it before we started recording, Tanner, that I think it would be fun if they end up winning the NFC South. They are only one game behind the Bucs right now. Pittsburgh, you mentioned just off that loss to the Ravens, getting 2.5 points on the road.
So this is a tough one. I think Carolina's played very well.
Yeah.
With the game being in Carolina, I'm going to go with
We
them
should also mention Kenny Pickett was listed as doubtful this morning, so it's either going to be Trubisky or Mason Rudolph. They've been splitting reps all week for some weird reason, so...
And the last time Trubisky, last week he threw 3 interceptions, I think, when he came in. Yeah, so I can't get behind it at all with the way Carolina's been playing. Pittsburgh's defense has looked good, right? But if the quarterback puts them in bad spots, you can't get over that. So I'm going to go with Carolina here. I don't feel good about this game at all. I think it's kind of like the Detroit-New York game. It could go either way, but that's the side that I would be on right now.
I'm going to be honest. I hedged my bet on this. I picked Pittsburgh to cover, but I picked Carolina to win with a 2.5 point spread. Chances are it's one or the other. Yeah. So I'll get one or the other right. I don't think there's a scenario where the Steelers or the Panthers would necessarily blow the Steelers out. So either I'm right with the spread or I'm right with the winner. I do think the Panthers will win this game at home. 2.5 points. I'm going to pick Steelers because I honestly don't know which way to go with this one. Sam Darnold is no one's idea of a great quarterback, but they've been running the ball so well in Carolina, and their defense has played so well. J.C. Horn absolutely playing fantastic over the last few weeks. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs at the Houston Texans. This is the highest spread for the week at 13.5 on the road. We just saw the Texans nearly beat the Cowboys. I think the spread was even higher last week with those two teams. Is there a chance that Houston keeps it close here, or do we think the Chiefs are just going to blow them out?
I just don't think you can get behind Houston here. The one thing that Houston struggles with a lot is deep plays, explosive plays through the air, getting the ball down the field. That's where the one way to beat Kansas City is throwing the ball down the field. I think offensively, Chiefs are just going to be too much. It's hard. 13.5 points is a lot. We've seen it at Houston against Dallas, right? But I trust this Kansas City team more to put a team down, especially because of how explosive they are on offense. So hard to go against Kansas City here. It's a big spread. I wouldn't play it if I'm actually betting money on this one. So I would just go Kansas City minus 13.5 if you need to play it on your card.
Yeah, I agree. This is not one, if you're selecting and not betting all the games, this is one I would probably just skip on for the spread purposes. Because we've seen Houston cover the spread against the Eagles. We've seen Houston cover the spread against the Cowboys. They've actually been covering against these some of the better teams in the NFL, and the Chiefs certainly fit that bill. But I'm still going to pick the Chiefs. I can't pick the Texans. Dameon Pierce looks like he's going to miss this game. He has been the most consistent player on their offense. They're going to be without Brandon Cooks and likely Nico Collins as well. Chris Moore did have I played him in my daily fantasy, my DFS lineups last week. That paid off for me. But you're right. The one way you can beat Kansas City is really airing it out, and the Houston Texans just don't have that kind of offense. So it's a confidence level of 7, so slightly below average for me, but I am going to pick Kansas City to cover the 13.5 and obviously win as well. This one is interesting. Dallas Cowboys on the road against the Jaguars. You and I have talked multiple times this season about how high you are in the Jags. I've bought into it a few times. It's actually rewarded me a number of times. I did pick Jacksonville last week. So 4.5 points on the road. Cowboys coming off that struggle against the Texans. Where do you like this one?
So it's hard to go to Jacksonville and win a football game. I mean, a lot of teams struggle doing that. I'm going to be on Jacksonville at plus 4.5 at home in this one. I think it's the better side of the line based on what we've seen out like Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he's 10th in real quarterback rating for Cold Hard Football Facts, 8th in offensive passer rating. And his rise in the past few weeks has really made this Jacksonville Jaguars a threat. Also has not thrown a pick in 5 games. I mean, you can't argue with that. If he puts them in a position to win this game, if he can score a little bit, Dallas is going to have trouble covering the spread. I'm not saying they don't win outright. I'm not saying the Jaguars win outright, but at 4.5, it's hard for me not to go with the team I've been riding all season.
I consider them. My confidence is only 5 on this. I did consider Jacksonville not only to cover, but I considered them as an upset pick. I ended up going with Dallas. I think I would feel better about it if Dallas didn't just get woken up with Houston last week. I think that actually could be the kind of game where they won't take Jacksonville lightly. They've seen how well Trevor Lawrence has played. And then I started looking at some of the matchups, and the Jacksonville offensive line has not been great. They've been kind of middle of the road, but they have been known to let pressure, especially earlier in the season, against this Cowboys pass rush. So that's ultimately why I went with Dallas. Jacksonville defense has been good, but not great. Really, the difference here, as you mentioned, is Lawrence is playing phenomenal. I think that we're finally getting to see this generational talent that everybody was saying, number 1 overall pick last year, play up to his ability. They've really been airing it out a lot. Zay Jones, Evan Ingram last week. Dallas can let up the big plays, like Trevon Diggs. We've talked about him being a guy who has been known to let up the big play. That was a very annoying halftime sound, Anthony. We were going to have to change that. That was like nails on a chalkboard. Let's quickly get through halftime. Legitfootball.com. Sign up for our daily free newsletter. You guys have heard me say it over and over again. I'm not going to go that far into it because I want to keep talking about these games. So why don't you let us know about Cold Hard Football Facts, Tanner?
Yeah, coldhardfootballfacts.com. You can find all the information right there. It's on the bottom of the screen. Use promo code December. You get all our premium stats, articles, and picks for $49.99. We're hitting a 63% rate. So get on there.
There you go. That's all you need to know. We've said it multiple times. If you're not already on there, you've probably lost money you would have made. So go to coldhardfootballfacts.com. Don't forget to follow Tanner Kern across all social media. Let's jump back in. There's a lot of games to talk about with a full slate here. Anthony, go ahead and get the second half timer going. Take that off. Oh, he took it off. Sometimes I'm doing the work for Anthony, and he's a step ahead of me. Good job, Anthony. All right. So, yes, just to recap, I am picking Dallas to cover the 4.5 on the road at Jacksonville. I don't feel great about it. Confidence level of 5. Really, this game could be either way. One of the games I'm more interested to watch this weekend, I'll say that. Let's stay in the NFC East. Philadelphia Eagles on the road at the Chicago Bears. Bears had a bye last week, so Justin Fields with another week to get healthy, although he's looked good even when he came in the week before against Green Bay. 8.5 points on the road. Jalen Hurts and these Eagles have been absolutely dominant. They're the number 1 team in our power rankings. How do you feel about that 8.5 points on the road here?
Yeah, I would play Eagles 8.5, and then I would play Justin Fields over rushing, which we'll talk about later. But Justin Fields over rushing here for sure. I don't trust the Bears defense to keep them in the game against the Eagles the way Philadelphia has been scoring. I wanted to because I think Chicago is going to have some offensive success. I think this is also a great over bet because Philadelphia will put up points, and no matter how good the Eagles are on defense, Justin Fields he's beaten everyone. So I would go with Philadelphia at 8.5. I don't love the line. But I do think they cover this.
Yeah, at first I was a little hesitant, but the more I dug into it, like you said, I do think Justin Fields, I haven't looked at the props. I'm assuming because you're going to mention him as one of your player props of the week. But I just don't trust this Bears defense to slow down this Eagles team at all. I could see the Bears scoring a couple touchdowns, even against a tough Eagles D because of Justin Fields alone. The Eagles actually, if you dig into some of the metrics, there is a little bit of susceptibility running quarterbacks. Well, nobody's a better running quarterback right now than Justin Fields. But do I think that they can keep up? No. Do I think that they'll keep it within single digits? Probably not, which is why I am going with the Eagles to cover the 8.5. Confidence level of 11. The more I dug into this, the Eagles are just playing so good right now. The one game they lost is a game they almost won and should have won. Washington just came out with a phenomenal game plan, and there were some kind of fluky turnovers in that game. The Dallas Goedert one comes to mind with the face mask. So yeah, Philadelphia to cover the 8.5. Confidence level of 11. NFC South, Atlanta Falcons getting 3.5 points against the New Orleans Saints. Both of these teams, by the way, we mentioned earlier, every team in the NFC South technically still has a chance to win this division. The Saints with 4 wins, the Falcons with 5. 3.5 points I thought was a bit high for the Saints, but how do you see this?
Yeah, I would go towards Atlanta at 3.5. I don't like how the Saints are playing, especially on offense right now. They're not doing a lot well, and even defensively they've struggled. Falcons, when you look at them, I think they're going to win this game up front. Offensive hog index for Cold Hard Football Facts, they're actually 7th in the NFL right now. The Saints are better in a lot of areas, but I do trust Atlanta to control the trenches and find a way to win this game. Definitely cover, but I almost like them to win outright, just the way they've been playing compared to New Orleans. Neither team's been playing well, but New Orleans has really dropped the ball.
We are almost completely aligned. I think we've only been different on maybe the Jacksonville-Dallas pick, because I also picked Atlanta. I also picked them to win. This is one of my, you can call it upsets because of the line. The one thing I'll mention is we don't know what we're getting with Desmond Ridder. I'm more excited to watch this game because Mariota, you and I have spoken, we know what we're getting with Mariota. Really weird situation. He disappeared with the team. They put him on IR anyway. So there is that uncertainty factor, which from a betting standpoint is always something you don't want to consider. If you don't know what data you're getting, we have not seen Desmond Ridder in a regular season NFL game before. But a lot of analysts thought he was one of the more pro-ready quarterbacks coming out because he was, I think, a 3 or 4 year starter at Cincinnati. He's got some mobility. He knows how to win. He won a lot of games at the University of Cincinnati. And I just like this Atlanta team to control the ball, like you said, on the ground. We've still got Andy Dalton starting for the Saints. I know it's in New Orleans. I guess that's why they're getting the 3.5. But I'm going to go with Atlanta. Confidence level of 4, because who knows it's another one of those games I'm not super confident to bet on. But I am picking the Falcons to cover the 3.5 and to beat the Saints on the road. Denver Broncos, 2.5 points, favorite at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Denver might have Brett Rippon at quarterback. Russell Wilson might clear. He's been practicing. We'll have to see. Arizona definitely doesn't have Kyler Murray. He is out for the season with a torn ACL. And so we've got Colt McCoy on that side. Both teams come off horrible showings. Denver against the Chiefs and Arizona on Monday Night Football in that ugly game against the Patriots. This is probably one of my least interesting games. I may not watch any of it or just watch a minute, but how do you view this game?
I think you got to go with the Broncos here because of their defense. Arizona doesn't do anything well where the Broncos do play good defense. I think Arizona's defense will have some success against Denver's offense because that's not saying much, especially
because everybody has success against Denver's offense.
Everyone has success against them. But when we look at Denver, they do play really well on the defensive side of the ball. Honestly, I like Colt McCoy more than Kyler Murray. I think he's a better pocket passer. I think he's a really quality backup quarterback. Yep. So if they were going against a defense that was average, I probably would pick them here. But Denver's just too good there. They need a few points, but hopefully they get them. I think they should.
Yeah, they should. I think that was my thinking too. Denver should win this game. My confidence level is 2. This is my second least confidence game, just because I don't like either of these teams on any level. Denver does have a great defense, but their offense is one of the absolute worst in the entire NFL, regardless of who's playing quarterback. We did see a little spark out of Russ last week. I don't know if that's a 1-week blip. We saw just a hint of what Russ was expected to do, but it was also short fields. Mahomes threw 3 interceptions to put the Broncos in those situations. Arizona, Colt McCoy has shown, and sometimes, to run this offense better than Murray. He listens to Kingsbury. He doesn't fight back. He just kind of does what he's supposed to do in that offense. So I don't want to touch this game from a betting standpoint, but since we have to pick every game, I am also like you. Denver should win. They should cover that 2.5. That's why I'm going with Denver. Here's another game that I definitely don't want a piece of, but I am interested to watch. We've got Josh McDaniels returning to New England to face Belichick as a head coach for the second time. They did face each other when he was the Broncos head coach. Vegas getting a 0.5 point. I don't know if this line has moved since Wednesday when I printed this sheet out or screenshotted this against the Patriots. It is in Vegas. Tanner,
Yeah, I think Patriots are +2 right now. I could be wrong about that, but like I love the Patriots. They're either +2 or -2. I wrote a preview on this, so I should know, but it slipped my mind. I love the Patriots in the spot. I really do. I
Mhm.
think defensively they're playing really well, and you can't trust Las Vegas in any capacity. We saw last week. I'm assuming if Baker Mayfield can drive the field, Mac Jones can too as well in crunch time, but we'll see there. But the Patriots defense keeps them in games. Statistically, New England's offense isn't good by any means, but they're very middle of the road. Like they're not horrendous. So
Yeah.
if you get a little production out of them combined with the defense, they'll be fine. Derek Carr didn't look good last week. I fully expect that again, and the Patriots get the job done.
Yeah, this is a narrative thing for me. I don't believe that the Raiders are a better football team than the Patriots. I am picking the Raiders for those not watching and just listening, but it's more like Josh McDaniels welcoming Belichick. He beat him the last time when he was head coach of the Broncos. They actually beat the Patriots that game. I think that's what I want to see happen. I think I'm picking the Raiders because I want to see it happen. The Raiders have probably burned me on this show with these picks more than any other team this year because they're almost always proving me right until they lose. They've all 4 games that they've been up by 13 points or more, they have lost. Every time but they almost should not try to get a big lead because clearly that means that they're going to lose. This is my least confident pick. I have a confidence level of 1, not touching this from a betting standpoint. From an entertainment standpoint, I'm excited to watch it. I'll pick the Raiders because I think that's a spicier storyline, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if the Patriots win this game. Let's talk about your / Tampa Bay Bucks. You're kind of a half Patriots, half Bucks, 100% Tom Brady fan.
Yeah.
Off their absolute worst performance of the year last week against Brock Purdy and the Niners. Now get the red-hot Cincinnati Bengals at home. Cincinnati only favored by 3.5. I was a little surprised by that. But what are your thoughts as a Brady guy wearing your number 12 Bucks jersey?
So I'll actually be at this game. I'm going to the game, so I'm very excited about that.
Nice. Great one to go to.
It is a great one. I'll be rooting for the Buccaneers. I will not be betting the game, but like all the picks that I'm giving every podcast I'm talking on, like I'm saying Bengals -3.5 because I do think that's the correct side of the line here.
Yeah.
But there's always that Tom Brady magic. And if anyone can find a way to beat the Bengals with Joe Burrow, it's Tom Brady this weekend. I do think the Bengals are a better team, though. They're playing well on defense. They're throwing the ball through the air. Tampa Bay's defense was lit up last week as well, and they can't score.
Yep.
If the Bengals can put up some points, I don't see the Buccaneers matching pace in any capacity, which is crazy to me as well because Tom Brady's 5th in the NFL in passing yards right now. And I think that's a little bit thanks to them not having much of a run game. But still, for an old guy, he's still slinging the ball around the field.
I have, honestly, and this is a guy who was a Dolphins fan and dealt with Brady for 20 years, I haven't really seen a physical decline.
No.
It's more like there's something just out of sync with that entire team now. It's not just the offense. This is my most confident pick. Sorry to say, Tanner, I am slamming down a 16 confidence that the Bengals will not only win this game, but they'll win it by 4 points or more. And it's primarily due to how bad the Bucks defense looked. This is not a reflection on Brady. But they just let up 35 points to Brock freaking Purdy. Now, I know Purdy's good. We just talked about him. But he's still a 7th-round rookie. That was his first ever start against Todd Bowles, who's supposed to be one of the better defensive minds in the NFL, and they let up 35 points. How are we supposed to feel about them going up against Joe Burrow? Looks like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd have a shot to play in this game. You still have Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon is back. This defense is playing really well for the Bengals. So even if Brady is able to get some magic and score some touchdowns, with whatever happens with him and Evans, Godwin has at least been a pretty good connection, but they have no run game. I just can't see many scenarios, even at home, where the Bucks keep this game close enough to cover. If it was like a 6-point spread, that might be different, but 3.5, I'm slamming that down all day long, going with the Bengals. 16 confidence to win and cover 3.5. Los Angeles Chargers, I think they came off their best performance start to finish on Sunday Night Football last week, favored by 2.5 points at home against the Titans, who are in an absolute free fall, Tanner.
So when I look at this game here, the Titans have just massively slid. I like Los Angeles the way they're playing. They're getting healthy right now. Justin Herbert looks sensational. Defensively, not great, but starting to come together a little bit. And like I look at the Titans too, their whole offense revolves around Derrick Henry getting going, and he's so inconsistent. Like he's not that hard of a runner. And I don't want to say he's 6'4", 225 pounds, or 240 pounds, I should say. But he's not a hard runner. He needs to get going in space to take someone down. He needs
to get a steam behind him. He needs to get momentum.
I've seen him tackle in the backfield more times this year than like these little guys. He just gets tripped up at the ankle. So until he has like steam behind him, he can't do anything. I think Los Angeles will be just fine. And offensively, I don't think Tennessee can match pace with them.
Yeah, the one real weakness on the Chargers, and it's a big weakness, is their run defense. But I don't know that the Titans are in a place to take advantage of that. It's partly the way Henry runs. You're 100% right. But it's partly this offensive line is bad. And it's been injuries have been a part of that. They lost Taylor Lewan early for the year. But they have just seemed to be getting worse. They're not protecting Tannehill from a pass rush perspective. They're not getting holes open. There's a reason why people are hitting King Henry in the backfield. It's because there's no blocking. On the other side of the ball, the Titans have been one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL over the last 4 weeks, getting absolutely just stomped up and down the field against Lawrence and the Jags, against Hurts and the Eagles, and now you're going up against a fully healthy Justin Herbert with a fully healthy Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. This is my 14 confidence. This is my third most confident pick that the Chargers will not only win this game at home, but cover and win by 3 or more. I could see this actually turning into like a double-digit victory for the Chargers, so I'm very confident in this one. I picked the Chargers to go to the AFC Championship game in the preseason. They've got that kind of roster. I liked seeing them, even though it was against my Dolphins, I liked seeing them actually play up to it last week. 2 more games left to cover. Sunday night, this was flexed into Sunday night. The second time these teams have played in the last 3 weeks. New York Giants going on the road, getting 4.5 points against the division rival Washington Commanders. Both teams technically in the playoffs right now, but New York kind of sliding out while Washington sliding in. How do you like this one?
So when I look at this game, I think I'm going to go with New York at plus 4.5 here. The Cold Hard Football Facts have New York as the 15th ranked team in the Quality Stats Power Rankings and Washington 16th. So when you see that and you're being given 4.5 points for a team that's better, you're automatically going to take that. They've slid a lot, but the one area where they do shine is on the ground running the football behind Saquon Barkley if they commit to it. Now, Washington has a good run defense as well, but I think the Giants have a better chance of controlling the clock in this game and covering 4.5.
I picked the Giants to win and cover last time these two teams played at home, and they ended in a tie. This Giants team, I just think they're coached really well. They play great, but their talent deficiency has really caught up with them. Their offensive line has been playing really, really poorly lately, and we've seen a drop-off in Saquon's running as well. He was red hot, one of the best running backs in the NFL over the first 6 weeks, has not been able to get going lately, and they do not have anyone else to really lean on from an offensive standpoint. Go to the other side of the ball. We've talked about Heineke. The advanced metrics don't love him, but for whatever reason, this team just plays better with him. He gets the ball to his playmakers. McLaurin's been playing better. This Washington defense has really been playing well, especially up front. One of the best run defenses in the NFL, getting pressure on the offense. So I am going to pick Washington. I'm picking the Giants to cover. I see I have a confidence level of 10. I'm like talking myself out of it. I'll pick the Giants to cover, but I'm definitely picking Washington to win, mainly because it's a division game. Let's quickly talk about Monday night, and then we'll add another minute or two onto the timer, and we'll get your player props. Los Angeles Rams with Baker Mayfield at the helm, going on the road to Monday Night Football at the Green Bay Packers. 7.5 points they're getting on the road, Tanner.
It's way too much. Way too many points.
Yeah.
Green Bay has been better against the spread at home, but overall against the spread this season, they're not a good football team. You look at Los Angeles, the way they played
Anthony.
last week with Baker Mayfield, awesome stuff there. He's only going to be better this week. And Green Bay really has no right to be a 7-point favorite. And that's why I chose Rams last week, because they didn't, you look at the Raiders, they didn't deserve, in my opinion, to be a touchdown favorite. I think same thing goes this week. So I'll go with Los Angeles.
I'm going to swap my 10 and my 3 there. I'm going to put my 3 confidence on the Giants covering 4.5, and I'm going to put 10 confidence that the Rams can cover 7.5. Have the Packers beat anybody outside of the Chicago Bears by that much this season? No. Oh. I do think the Packers at home, Lambeau Monday night, I think they'll run the ball well against this Rams defense. I do think they'll win, but I'm picking LA to cover the 7.5, and as I said, if you're looking on YouTube, switch those numbers. I'm going to put a 10 confidence level that the Rams, Baker with no preparation was able, I know the Raiders suck, especially on defense, but still, it almost like that was just a good match. I like Baker with McVay in that Rams offense. I'm excited to see it again. We got just over a minute left, Tanner. Let's hear about your player props of the week.
So the first area I'm looking in this is Justin Fields, over 240.5 passing plus rushing. And it's not really based on the Cold Hard Football Facts as much as just the one area where you can kind of attack the Eagles is on the ground to 12th in defensive rush rating. They're great at defending opposing quarterbacks. But with that being said, the Bears are going to have to score. They're going to have to throw. They're going to have to run with Justin Fields. So I do like that. Then I'd go Justin Jefferson over 93.5 yards. I think that number is going to creep way up. So I would
get it more than doubled that last week. So
yeah, I would get it as soon as you can. Now, hopefully he doesn't drop an egg this week, but you look at the Colts through the air, defensive real quarterback rating 27th, defensive passer rating 26. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then Joe Mixon over 58.5 yards. In 8 games this season, he's received double-digit carries. He's gone over this total 7 times. I don't think the Bengals are going to have to score too much this weekend. So with that being said, they could probably keep it on the ground more and take Joe Mixon and go over, especially with what McCaffrey did to them last week.
Yeah, and the Bucs, who have always had a good run defense, that's not a thing anymore for whatever reason. I think Vita Vea might even be missing this week. I believe I saw that, so that would just add another. Great player props, as always. Great picks, Tanner. Always awesome having you on. We'll try to close out the season every Friday with this, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe, whether it's on Tanner's channel or here on the Legit Football channel. Any last thoughts before we go into Week 15, Tanner?
No, I mean, this is when it starts to get fun. 15, 16, 17, and 18. So very excited about these games.
Games that actually mean something. Win, put up, or shut up, essentially. Thank you, guys. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. Make sure to enjoy the games this weekend. That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.